Hello, Reese from the Point Music Podcast thingy. Another podcast for you, episode for you. This time around, we've got Joe Mungovan. He's just released his sophomore album, Sugar Candy Lips. It's chock full of like real sort of funky indie dance numbers, but with a lyrical twist. If you get into the themes of the songs, which we discuss in this podcast, it's quite well done. It's sort of like a sugar coating on something that's a little bit bitter, and it's wicked. You do need to check this album out, by the way. Joe Mungovan is touring throughout the April and into May in support of this album, so I will put the dates in with this podcast. But if you listen to the audio version, that's going to be awkward. I'll mention it afterwards. Meanwhile, you need to go check out this episode. Ladies and gentlemen and people of all sorts, this is Joe Mungovan. And we are rolling. Joe Mungovan, how are you this evening, my friend?
Good, man. How you doing?
Good. Now, you probably don't remember this, but I've actually interviewed you before.
Oh, there we go. When was that?
8 years ago, 2016.
Yeah, right.
It took me a while because I had to go through my the archives of all my interviews and that. And I swear I've done an article or an interview on you before, but when we teed this up, and there, lo and behold, there it is. I found it. I think it was to do with your track Again.
Yeah, that would have been it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, everyone was wearing cardigans in the film clip or something. It just changed or something like that, or a jumper or something.
Yeah, a jumper. Yeah, that was the same EP, different song, but all good. Yeah.
Wow, man, you've had a fucking evolution since then. I can tell you that now.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's been I feel like, if I look over the past 10 years of creating music, it all kind of makes sense. But I think for someone that maybe hasn't known all the projects that I've been a part of, it would definitely feel like a massive step especially from that EP,
Yeah.
that sort of folk sound to now coming into sort of doing what I'm doing now.
Well, that's the when I started getting your tracks coming through, the singles for this album. So like Moncherie, Cyclone, because I had mentioned you a few times in the Friday Music Night. I swear I have, particularly for those singles. But yeah, I just went back and I swear you were a roots artist or a folksy sort of artist, and you come up with this indie funk sort of stuff. I went, all right, I'm all for this. I like this kind of shit. So, and I love seeing an evolution of an artist like yourself doing that. So, we're here to talk about your sophomore album, Sugar apostrophe Candy apostrophe Lips. I'm going to ask you about that. But what I want to, why was this evolution like? Was it necessary for you to do?
I think I don't think it was necessary really. I think I just write what I feel at the time. And
Yeah.
when I was a teenager, I was playing in a nine-piece reggae funk band.
Nice.
So I've always loved listening to old funk and reggae records, and I've always been a massive fan of so many different genres of music that I just kind of don't try to force anything too much when I'm making music. I just kind of let whatever's coming out, what I'm feeling come out, and I really feel like it just kind of evolves by itself. And this is where we've landed.
Because the production on this is next level compared to your other stuff too. I mean, your first album was great too, because I went back and listened to both. But just it's so clean, but I don't know how to quite to put it. It's very full.
Yeah, I think it's a lot more in your face than the last one. The last one was a bit more subdued and
Mm.
a little bit more introverted in a way, I guess. But I think it kind of, when I look back at things in hindsight, it all makes sense. I made the last album living out in the middle of nowhere in the bush by myself. It was COVID. I wasn't talking to humans very much, talking to a lot of cows and different animals out there, but there was no one around. So I think it's really it's significant of the place that I was in at that time
Yeah.
for the sound of that album. And this one's a lot more, yeah, it's a lot more forward. It's a lot more, yeah, it's just louder and bigger, and there's a lot more. The songs are more ambitious. The
Mm.
sounds are more ambitious, and I've also brought a lot more people into play on this one.
Yeah, I did read that. By the way, some weird shit did come out of 2020, like COVID era sort of releases. There's a lot of releases. People, sort of artists, would probably just go, "Yep, released it. I'd like to forget about that," or let's just move on to the next thing. But yours isn't part of that. Yours is a great album that came out in that period. But there are a lot of people that just went through some weird shit in that time.
Yeah, I think there are a lot of artists that were just sort of questioning everything, and I think that rightly so. And I think that I mean, I think that's a beautiful thing for art in a way, to really flip things on its head. But I think it's hard when you are mixing creating art with business, and if it is your sort of livelihood, then
Mm.
I think there are artists that really either fell off the bandwagon a little bit or just kind of lost their brains. And,
Yep.
just because there was no touring, there was no shows, there were no outlets for doing stuff. So people got experimental and people got very creative.
To put it politely, people just went a little bit too deep. Um, but yeah, this one. So you're a multi instrumentalist yourself, and I know for a fact you used to be a drummer too, right? But you had a skateboard incident which caused you couldn't play drums properly or something. Is that right?
Yeah. So I still play drums now, and yeah, but there was a moment in time when I was in a wheelchair because I'd fractured both of my femurs. Uh,
Fuck.
which are those two big bones in your thighs. And yeah, so I wasn't able to drum anymore. So I sort of just taught myself to play guitar and fell in love with songwriting. And then I learned to walk again, and I was playing drums and singing in that band I was telling you about, the
Mm-hmm.
funk reggae. And then started doing my solo project as well. I also play in a duo called El Grande with Jimmy Van from the Vans. So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on.
What was the reggae funk band called?
It's called Tommy M and the Master Sounds. Yeah,
Nice.
it was nine of my best mates. We were in schools around the Illawarra, and we used to just on the weekends go and play shows, and it was just so much fun. It was wild.
Yeah, big bands are a hard one to deal with. I used to play in a six-piece reggae band. And I know that that's a lot going on, and sometimes hard to manage. It's like wrangling childcare, like kindergarten students
Yeah,
a lot of the time.
I think it was easy when we were in school because we were all on the same kind of schedule.
Yeah.
But then people were finishing school, and it was like, oh yeah, you got to get a job. And yeah,
So you recorded Sugar Candy Lips in your own studio, plus you worked at the very, very, very famous Grove Studios too. So what was the balance between that?
so the way I've sort of recorded most of my music is like I sort of build the basis, the
Mm.
foundations for songs at home or whatever studio I'm at the time, and just kind of get them to a place where I'm feeling comfortable with them as like as a whole, and then kind of take them into the studio. And this time worked with other people so they could sort of bring their flavor to the songs, and worked with another producer called Isaac Wilson who was able to really add a lot of different textural sort
Mm.
of sounds to it. And yeah, it's just kind of like build the foundations here and then go into the studio and bring the sort of decorators in a way.
Yeah. So you enjoyed going into the Grove Studio. I've heard good things about about the joint.
Yeah, it was great. It was great to get a nice big live warm sound drum sound, and just go through some of the outboard gear there. It's just like, yeah, it was a good time. Yeah.
Isn't that the one that's owned by one of the Farris brothers? Is that right?
No, it's
No.
owned by Scott. Yeah.
Yeah. There's another one. I was trying to, because I get the two mixed up.
Yeah. This one's on the Central Coast. It's great because you kind of fully submerge yourself in the recording process, stay there.
Mm.
You're kind of out in the bush. So it kind of feels like in a way, it's similar to where I would to my home studio in a way, but it's obviously just got a lot more expensive microphones and a really yeah.
When you're looking at like 800, 900, 1200, $1,300 ribbon microphones, and they're just going, I so want to touch that, but yeah, better not.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. I'll leave that up to someone else.
So how long was the actual process to make this album then?
I think I was thinking about it the other day. I think it was about a year and a half.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah, it was pretty quick for me. I think bringing other people in definitely helped the speed of the process
Yeah.
because it really allowed me to step back and kind of take on a more of a producer role rather than playing every instrument and doing everything myself, which allowed me to kind of um, just I guess take it a bit easier in the recording process and not overthink things so much because I feel like when you're playing, you're listening a lot more intently than if somebody else is.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you be? It sounds like you'd be more open to taking on more suggestions when since you brought other people in instead of like when you're doing it all on your own, you're hypercritical of yourself. And I know the feeling as a producer myself because I have my own, so I do my own stuff here. That you go through like you spend a whole day on a block of like tracks for one song and you just pour everything into it and then you wrap it up by whatever it is at god awful hours at night and you go to bed and you open up the project next morning and just go, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. So I feel like I kind of need to bring other people into the process to just help me just relax and also just be like, I'm just gonna let this project find its path naturally rather than trying to strangle it into a shape that you want it to be. And when you surround yourself with incredible musicians, I feel like that's all you really need to do.
Yeah.
Just trust the process and let it go in the way that it needs to go.
Yeah, a lot of the time I've found in that sort of situation, instead of feeling intimidated by this, you actually feel inspired or lifted.
Definitely. I think working with other people, it kind of felt like I grew more limbs and I was able to like think a lot more broadly. It's like the horizon was further away and the canvas that I was painting on was bigger because I had so many people with more skills and I was able to really think about ideas that I wouldn't have been able to conceptualize otherwise because I knew that that person would be able to go away and do the thing that I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas if it was just me, I'd be like, well, I'm not skilled enough on the keyboard to be able to make that work with my fingers.
Yeah.
So I was able to yeah, just talk to the players about what I was thinking and yeah, yeah, no worries, and they just smack it out and be like, well, that would have taken me, years to learn how to do that.
Yeah.
So it was a great process. And the guys that I was playing with I've known for years, so they kind of understood the language that I used and the way that I was trying to explain the parts. They sort of yeah, they clicked into it pretty quickly.
It's like adding extra flavor to it. And so if you were doing it all completely yourself, you would know that you would have a certain flavor or technique to how you're playing or approaching each instrument, right? So when you have someone that specializes in that instrument and that adds their own finesse to it, it actually just adds that extra. It's like a recipe, I guess, when you're adding in an extra little bit of spice and you just go, oh shit, I wouldn't have built it that way. So even though I've said to do it like this, but they've added their own extra part to it or their own style or flavor to it, it just makes that song or that part there actually just lift or just add just that little bit more to what you had intentioned.
Yeah, definitely. And the guys that I play with have played together in different projects, so they sort of understand each other's musical language,
Mm.
which means you've got each individual's flavor, and then you've got their understanding of what they make together as well, which really complements each other. And we've been playing together for like they've been my band for probably going on 2 years now. So they took the songs from the first album and really made the parts that I played on that their own. And so it was kind of, I understood how that whole process worked from me because I still write all the parts and teach it to them, or I record demos of it here and then we take it up. So I understand how that sort of transfers to their style of playing.
Yeah.
and I was able to kind of write songs in a way that I was like, I've got this person in mind to play this part, and I know what their strengths are, and I know the way that they treat their instrument. So I will be able to write those parts specifically for that specific player, which was really fun.
Yeah, it helps being able to get into that kind of mindset of knowing the instrumentalist that well to be able to sort of preempt what they could do, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And then their ideas that they have, or just they'll play a note a different way or something like that, and it'll spark a whole new world, will open a door that you never thought would have existed. And it just goes in that way naturally. And that's what I mean by just trusting that process.
So here's a question for you. Myself, I'm a bass player, right? And I've always found that the relationship between me and the drummer it's always got to be like the tightest thing out of the whole band. There is this weird symbiotic relationship in the rhythm section, but it gets to the point, if it's the right drummer, you tend to have this weird telekinetic, telepathic kind of link where, like, I know when my drummers, depending which band I'm in, but I know when they're going to do a fill, and I can link in and know exactly when that fill's going to happen. So I either pull back or I do the fill with them. Have you ever had that experience before? Or is it just me being a fucking weirdo bass player?
No, no, definitely. And I think the beautiful thing about starting out as a drummer and thinking about music as from a drumming perspective is that I think you meet a lot of front guys that do their thing, and a lot of singers that are incredible, but they'll never understand that connection between a drummer and a bass player. And I think me understanding that and trusting the guys, the bass player and the drummer that I play with now, have an incredible relationship in that way, and they speak a language that I don't need to understand, and I can trust. It's just like having a nice couch to sit on. It's like you trust it's going to be there when you get home. You know where you sit, it's comfortable there. And I think that's really nice for me now moving to the front, to be able to be like, I'm not, because I would have usually been always listening to that and always thinking for that and always being like, I want this song to go in this direction, because I've always done that as a drummer, just manipulate whatever I've wanted to happen in that song to go in that direction. And you can't really do that as a singer and a guitarist. You don't have as much control to, fully derail a song and move it into a different thing. But having the trust that I have with the guys that I'm playing with now is, yeah, it's awesome. But I definitely know what you're talking about. To answer your question, yes,
Good.
it's a real thing.
Good. Yes, I was gonna say. Yeah. So moving from, like, coming from a rhythm section sort of perspective and coming out as being a front man, did you feel naked without being surrounded by a kit and just basically just going fuck? Because I know if you take my bass off me and ask me to sing, I don't know where to put my hands. I don't know. I feel like the instrument is a barrier, and it's like a safety net kind of thing to have there. And I can play and sing, and I feel comfortable. But take away that's you feel exposed. I don't know if you've experienced that.
Yeah, I definitely know what you're talking about. I don't think there's a difference to me between having a drum kit, because I was singing while playing drums
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well.
true.
I don't think there's a difference to me between having a drum kit and a guitar. So I still feel like I have that barrier. I haven't quite crossed the barrier of the no guitar lead vocalist yet. I don't know if I will, but
Got to
I
get
guess
out there and strut at some point, man.
yeah, totally. Yeah. I'm not quite confident enough in my dance moves at this point in time, but
Come
you
on,
know,
I've seen some of those film clips in the short scene where you're getting your fucking groove on.
yeah, we're giving it a crack. Yeah, you see about 20 seconds and
Yeah.
then I'm out of it.
So I want to ask about the album title. Why is the apostrophes? The commas, sorry, the commas.
The commas. Basically, the reason that I wanted to put the commas in is because I feel like that it's more of a I don't want to say shopping list, but it's not. I didn't want to put it as one word because then it would be describing the lips.
Sugar
But
Cube
I
Lips. Okay.
Yeah, but I feel like with this, it's more each single word describes a different sort of topic or different theme that I was exploring on this album. So I think that it just made sense. And I originally did want to put it as a list, but the way that the album artwork and everything came
Just
together,
didn't
it
work.
just yeah.
That would make sense, yeah, because I was just confused, but the way you just explained it there, like a shopping list, it's perfect sense. Because it's just going,
Yeah.
okay. Because by the way, Lips and I think it's Private Balcony, are probably my two favorites on that album.
Oh, awesome. Cool. Thanks,
I mean,
man.
the whole
I'm
album's are
glad you did.
bangers, but those two are the ones that stand out. Though I have a soft spot for Moncherie, mainly because my wife's name's Cherie. So, yeah,
Oh, there you go.
it was
Oh,
kind of
that's awesome. Oh, that's cool. I really like it when people love the songs that weren't singles. I think that's a vibe because I always feel like when I listen to albums, my favorite songs are never
I'm
like
exactly the same. I always search for that sort of like hidden gem, and you just go, "Why wasn't this released as a single?" But then you
yeah.
feel kind of special that you're part of a club that is on the inner that knows this song, whereas like people that just listen to that their singles and they don't bother searching through the whole discography, they don't care. And you're kind of like, well, that song kind of belongs to me now, doesn't it, bitch?
Yeah, yeah. Yes. Take ownership of it. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So the topic of the album, you to quote off the press release here, so your life changed post 2021, and you felt it like it was a flitting in and out of a state of disconnection and reconnection. Do you want to expand on that?
Yeah, definitely. I think coming out of the other side of COVID where so much of what I was doing was what we were all doing, making content and just trying to figure out and be creative in a way that
Mm.
meant that we still managed to afford to make music as a living. And then coming into a space where it felt like we were back in the world, but I just still felt so um, confused about where I sort of stood not only as an artist but as a human as well, and I noticed it in all the people around me as well.
I
I
feel like
noticed it in
that
my
every fucking day.
yeah, yeah. No, and I still struggle with it. So this album was really my way of trying to navigate through that and trying to feel like I could talk about these things in a way that I was um expressing my like concern with them while still being a bit tongue in cheek,
Mm.
and still being like hard enough to not come across as extremely opinionated and political in that way. But I did really want to touch on them. I don't, you hear songs every now and then that are talking about it, and I do feel, extremely hypocritical writing these songs and then promoting these songs across social media and, running ads and whatnot. But I feel like the first step is if we acknowledge that, the way that we're moving in regards to social media addiction and overconsumption and just the massive amounts of information that we're fed every day
Mm.
is probably not that for us. And yeah, so I just kind of wanted to touch on that in the lightest hearted way possible. So that's why I still kind of put in, those elements of love and lust in there because it kind of felt like that was my understanding of how to get through it is through connection and through finding love for community and the people around you and the things around you and at the end of the day the art that you're making and the land that you stand on.
Mm. Heavy.
I don't know if I even answered your question by the
No,
end of
you
that, but
did. Like
yeah.
you hit the nail on the head. Basically, the saying how I said like I feel like that every fucking day. Like it has changed, and I mean this podcast wouldn't have existed if it wasn't for fucking COVID. I wouldn't have never done it. But like I know, like when I finish my day job and I come home, it just something just it all feels different. Um, And I've tried to use that kind of experience in my own songwriting, but yeah, you've managed to do this lyrically, but dress it up in a way that is not preachy.
Yeah, it was definitely a new skill that I had to learn, and it was something that I had never second guessed myself releasing music. But I found just before I released this song, I was like, am I gonna sound like a massive fucking wanker here? Like, it's written from a lot of the songs are written from the perspective of I guess the kind of character that I chose to really put myself in, or the version of myself that I decided to put myself in that moment. A hungry, greedy,
Mm-hmm.
money-driven person that's just addicted to all of these things that I find potentially problematic within our day-to-day lives. Um, so yeah, I'd never sort of done that before, but I was just like, oh, like I didn't think to take a step outside of myself and think, oh, I'm gonna have to like release this as a body of work and like figure out how to communicate the fact that I'm kind of taking the piss in a way,
Would
which
you
was interesting.
would you take on that kind of persona as a full time character for this whole tour?
I think I have to for a lot of these songs,
That'd
to
be
be honest.
sick. Like do
Yeah,
go full Bono. You know how he gets I don't know if you're familiar with when in the '90s when Bono from U2 had Mephisto, his the alter ego character came out, it was like the devil and shit.
yeah,
Should
right.
look it
Oh,
up, man. It's pretty clever what he did.
yeah, I'll check it out.
Yeah, but to bring on like the full ego driven wanker of a character come out and just embrace that and just be the
Maybe
not.
that be able to get rid of the guitar, just maybe you've answered it for me.
Fucking strut.
Yeah.
Just come out in full suit, but like full sort of like, I don't know, own it and swagger it and swing the microphone around and just be like the pentultimate like lounge singer and yeah, there's a
I
character
think
for you.
a new show designer over here.
Yes, bring me on, man. That's classic.
There's room in the Kia Carnival for you. We've got one seat left.
Woo! Oh man, don't, you just give me PTSD. The last tour I did was in a Kia Carnival, and that was not fun.
Yeah, yeah. It's a yeah.
So you are doing a tour throughout April, for the release of this album. So you're just doing the East Coast, yeah?
For now, yeah, yeah. We're doing shows from Brizzy down to Melbourne, just major cities mainly. So yeah, very excited to hit the road with the band, and yeah, we're really ready to play some of these new songs live at the shows. I feel like this album, as you were saying before, it sounds really big and full and it's tight. They played the songs on the album, so it's feeling like the first time that I've yeah been able to bring that experience to the live setting.
So this is gonna be a little bit different to compared to what you're used to, yeah?
Yeah, definitely. I think the songs they're a lot more energetic. There's a lot more going on. It's funky. It's like electro groove. It's like poppy. It's yeah, there's like guitar solos and shit. It's gonna be good.
Well, there wasn't guitar solos previously.
I wouldn't say so much, no.
So
There were moments, but now it's like guitar solos in there, you know?
man, they've got to come back. I mean, we had a long period of time there where they just the guitar solo, the poor guitar solo. Don't get me started about bass solos. Um, just always sort of it wasn't cool to do it. It needs to be a mainstay now.
Yeah, you reckon? Who's bringing it back? What's a song that's getting pumped at the moment that's got a ripping guitar solo?
I can't think of one, but I do know Hearts is come back, and if anyone's gonna rip out a guitar solo, it's gonna be Hearts.
Yeah, on the old Squire. That's
Mm.
mad.
Oh yeah. So yeah, be keen to see what that gentleman's up to. But yeah, bring him back. Just get guitarists to do something like I don't know, get some full swaggerish hair metal shit happening.
Hair metal, God. This if we bring you on a set design, this is just gonna this is gonna get
Don't get me started, man. The bass player's just got to be tall and very subtle in the background. The drummer's got to be the wild card. Keyboard player is going to be flamboyant as fuck.
You've got it sorted.
Have I got it
You've done
sorted?
this.
Not my first fucking rodeo. All right, Joe, we're hitting the half-hour mark, mate. That went really quick.
Easy.
Sugar Candy Lips is out now. It's a great album, and well done on it. And good luck on the tour throughout April. So I'll put the tour dates in with this article when it goes live, with this podcast when it goes live. Have fun on this tour, man.
Thanks so much, man. Thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
You just hang in there, and I'll have a quick debrief with you. Everyone else, adios. Massive thanks to Joe for jumping on that one. We actually had a few jokes afterwards that didn't make it into this, and I'm pissed that I actually didn't record it because it was funny. Anyways, if you are wanting to catch Joe Mungovan on tour, I have the dates this time, and he's starting off on 5th of April at the Stag and Hunter, Newcastle, 6th of April at La La La's at Wollongong, 19th of April at the Oxford Art Factory in Sydney, 20th of April at the Gasometer at Melbourne, then 28th of April the Gumball Festival, which is a pretty freaking cool festival in the Hunter Valley, and then wrapping up on the 3rd of May as a Friday night at It's Still a Secret in Brisbane. So there's your dates for Joe. Go see him if you dug this, and go check out the album Sugar Candy Lips because it's very cool. All right, that's it for this time round. More to come, as I always say, and yeah, because there is more to come. Thank you for supporting local music, live music, Australian music, all sorts of music. You guys are legends. Bye-bye.